it's a shrewd move by Leeds from a business sense, but also it's good to see someone somewhere trying to keep the Toronto Wolfpack fans that became engaged with our sport, try and keep them engaged with our sport.
Yeah, it's very smart.
The Canadians, isn't it? Really doesn't really help much then.
No, I mean it's they'll get some like updates and information and details from the club that the Leeds members would get as well, and then they'll also get the opportunity to go to Headingley Stadium and have a tour of the stadium and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess the Wolfpack fans that were in the UK were the ones that might benefit the most, but at least it's someone reaching out there to the Wolfpack, because I think the Toronto Wolfpack have done one tweet since the fallout from them losing their place. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like there's a groundswell of action on the ground in Toronto to keep the club running and at some level or some capacity. And these fans need a rugby league outlet, because we can't lose them all.
No, it's not like they're cheating on Toronto in a sense.
No, exactly.
And if Leeds get a few merchandise sales out of it a year, a couple of shirts get sent over to Canada, then they've made probably the money back from doing those emails and reaching out to them and what they've given up. So it makes sense from their point of view.
Yeah, exactly. And still on the Leeds theme, a few Leeds fans deserve special mention. Rich Wilkinson, Dr. Bob Phillips and Bradley Asquith were the only ones to predict both the Grand Final and Challenge Cup winners. Dr. Bob even had Wigan winning the League Leaders' Shield too, so he pulled off the treble, did Dr. Bob. It turns out that never getting to games because you're busy saving children's lives is the way to be spot on with your predictions about rugby league. So there you go.
Yeah, Nostradamus Bob.
Yeah.
There you go. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather him be doing these predictions than all the dancing he's been doing of late, but but Dr. Bob always out there trying to raise money and awareness and support and stuff for kids in need. So
yeah, and I ain't going to throw any stones at when you look at my dancing either. So.
No, but you're not doing dances every day.
Well, I'm not filming them anyway. Put it that way.
Well, Dr. Bob's a legend for more than one reason this year. Bob was in 20% of the voters that correctly predicted Wigan would end the season as league leaders. St Helens had been tipped by the voters as the most likely to finish top of the season, and all of us four actually picked them as the Shield winners when we did our votes back at the start of the season. But Bob was in that 20% who were second most group that picked Wigan. And I suppose this is a chance for us to talk a little bit about Adrian Lamb being given one more year at Wigan, because we weren't sure, were we, Tim, that he was going to have another year at Wigan after his interview after the grand final?
No, from the way he talked and the way he looked and the sort of slightly resigned nature, it looked like he'd seen his last chance go. But clearly he is intending to stay around for another year at least. So that's good news, given that he's already 1 year overdue. So
yeah, well, exactly. He wasn't supposed to be here still, and he did a good job this year. Like I've said, I think there's some tactical decisions and maybe in-game decisions that he needs to pick up on, like he should have been making sure we didn't try and kick for two in those last 3 minutes of the grand final. We could have got closer in. I'm not over it. I'm really not. But yeah, alongside that, Tommy Luluai played on. We mentioned that before. I'm really pleased from a Wigan fan perspective of that. And Wigan, along with St Helens, have already announced their squad numbers for 2021. Now, I suppose the headline from the Wigan squad numbers was who was going to get the number 13 shirt, because there'd only been 2 players to wear the 13 shirt in Super League since we've had this squad number system. It's only been Andy Farrell and his brother-in-law Sean O'Loughlin, and we're talking about two great captains, 2 of the best players to play in that position. I don't think Bateman will actually play in that position a lot. I think he'll stay right edge, second row, but he's wearing the 13 shirt, John Bateman. So Alan, do you think that was the obvious thing to happen? He was the man who had the shoulders to fill it?
If you're not going to kind of get all sentimental and retire it for a year or something, it makes sense that Bateman gets the 13 as the the returning son and all that kind of stuff. It makes total sense, and it's a good story, isn't it? So yeah, it makes sense to me.
There's been a lot of Wigan social media centred on Bateman being back.
Retiring shirts, do we? We don't want to get into the nonsense of retiring numbers because it just gets bloody confusing.
It's all right because you can retire halfback numbers at Hull KR because you don't have any bloody halfbacks.
Exactly.
Cass fans, Georgia and Stephen, both correctly tipped Paul McShane to pick up the Steve Prescott Man of Steel award. So well done to those two for correctly picking that one. Only 2 people picked Paul McShane. The overall favourite from the voters, and prepare yourselves, was Sonny Bill Williams. I think a couple of you guys picked Sonny Bill Williams to be the person who got the Man of Steel as well.
Yeah,
well,
probably,
but there was
there
was method in the madness, wasn't there? Because Man of Steel now isn't that awarded like on a points per game thing?
Yeah, but he would have had to have won a game.
Yeah, but if you're the best player,
yeah,
in a rubbish team, you're going to pick up more than a decent player in a team full of good players.
Yeah, that's why McShane won it.
Well, fair point, yeah.
I think the whole Sonny Bill Williams thing just shows what a year it's been. What a year it's been. Yes.
Yeah, well,
things change.
We've got more Sonny Bill to talk about when we get into the say whats. So we'll move to those shortly. But let's talk about teams getting promotion. And it wasn't done on the field, as we know, and it was only announced this week. But 12% of people did predict that Leigh would be promoted to the Championship. They were third favourites in our voting to go up. London and Toulouse were ahead of them. And that's in the, let me be clear, pre-season, we're looking at them playing a year on the field promotion. So although it happened unconventionally, some people saw the writing on the wall for the Leigh Centurions. Some people thought they were going to go up anyway. It's a chance for us to talk about it. What do we make of it? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Who basically it was a question: who's the angriest about it, Alan? And I know that's you, so yeah.
Worst thing to happen this year. No, I am joking about that. It just honestly, we were talking a little bit before the show. For me, they felt like the least likely team to get promoted. So, yeah. Obviously, therefore they get promoted. So, I think every other team had a clear case why they would be promoted above Leigh, but
they had a unique selling point. Everybody else had a selling point. I'm not sure what Leigh's was or is.
I mean, I'm taken back to the saying, a camel is a horse designed by committee. And Leigh are the camel in this argument. They're kind of okay, and everyone had, they're not terrible at anything. They've got an okay team. They're okay competition. Their stadium is okay. They've got somebody who can put money in if he decides to do so. They're okay in many, many ways, but they're not outstanding in any of their aspects. So. Yeah, I was incredibly disappointed.
The sort of emotion-led nature of the chairman, but outside of that, with the criteria that was put forward, I suppose you say they don't have a USP. They also probably didn't have a major flaw either, probably, which might be why they were the ones chosen in this uncertain of times.
It just feels like a very. From all the kind of the talk that there was afterwards, there was a huge number of people who were very, very disappointed with the decision. It almost doesn't spread the right message for me. It's kind of, you have to look at it from what message does it send to the outside? And to me, I could have made a case for any of the other candidates to say, oh, well, we're maybe excluding Featherstone for similar reasons. This is why we're putting this team in. It's for this reason or it's for that reason. Leigh, as a kind of bus stop in Wigan, as some people would call it, there's no excitement about Leigh generally, but about them.
I think the underwhelming nature of it was kind of typified by how quickly Sky Sports News moved on from it.
Yeah,
when it was announced,
it's not interesting, and I fully, this isn't just sour grapes. I fully understand why Bradford didn't get the shout. There are lots of reasons why Bradford were not right to go into Super League, but there are compelling reasons behind other bids over and above Leigh's that would have been a little bit more positive and something you could make a story about. To me, Super League next year doesn't have a clear, compelling narrative to it. Potentially.
And I think, if you look at Toulouse, you look at York, you look at London, you've got more of those stories potentially there. There's more potential in that, and there would have been more. I just felt utterly depressed by it yesterday, if I'm honest. It just feels like, as the old saying goes, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And it just feels like an ever decreasing circle that we just don't even have the ambition to put someone slightly different in, even though, they met most of the criteria. It's just we've gone for the absolute 100% safety option. And it's just uninspiring. It's not something that's going to get new people into the sport. It's not even something that's going to keep existing people interested in the sport.
I mean, also devil's advocate to safest option argument that you're kind of making, and I have said it is underwhelming. But the devil's advocate to that is we went for the risky option over the last 3-4 years with the kind of letting Toronto Wolfpack in without any real understanding of what they were going to behave like. And I don't mean letting them into Super League, I mean letting them into the league structure with basically a couple of phone calls between the person that wasn't even going to be the owner and the RFL. So the lack of diligence on there, if you're going to, we took the risky option with that, and look how it's worked out. Not great.
Yeah, but that was a very different. I mean, this is a much more known quantity, wasn't it? It's a very different.
You've gone quiet, Tim. This is your new thing.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but only faintly.
Try now.
Yeah. Sarah, you were a bit surprised, to say the least, about it being Leigh.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Al says, I could put forward arguments for all the others. I thought that, but I'd totally forgotten that Leigh were even in the equation.
There you go.
So me, there was I thinking like, oh, they'll probably put in the most random team, so that'd be Featherstone, because really they've got the least sort of compelling argument. So yeah, I'd totally even forgotten that Leigh were there. My thinking, well, for me, I think I felt that London would be the best team to put in. I thought Toulouse probably, given that we don't know what travel or anything else is going to look like next year, it wouldn't be wise to put them in. However, again, this is the rugby league, so anything could happen. Bradford, again, it seemed like the stars were aligning that they would go for Bradford, and I wasn't overly happy with that idea either. I have to say I loved the idea of York, probably just because it's down the road and it's quite a lot of links with Hull and everything else, and I did quite like a lot of the promo stuff that they'd done. But yeah, for me, I thought London was the team that offered the most, and then particularly with the announcement of moving grounds, I thought, oh well, that's obviously they're announcing that now, and therefore when they get announced as being the 12th club, then people haven't got the gripe about the stadium or anything, because actually they've already announced that they're playing somewhere else.